All right, today on the Paul Harrell program, we're going to talk about all of the news over the weekend. Specifically, President Trump is now saying that the House, can release the Epstein files, or they should release the Epstein files. We'll talk about that. But more specifically, we have President Trump coming out and removing his endorsement from Marjorie Taylor Greene, attacking her. But this has got a lot of people asking the question, how do you do something like that while you're still endorsing the swamp creature of all swamp creatures, Lindsey Graham? We're going to talk about that. I got a special guest alongside my co-host Rob Spencer. We'll be talking with Noel Fritsch. The Paul Harrell program starts right now.
The Paul Harrell program.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for being with us. As always, Rob, good to see you again, sir. How was your weekend?
Not as always, Paul, but I'm trying.
You're trying.
I'm trying, man. It's interesting because, this is the first time that we've been together, without an in-studio guest in a while here. So, obviously, we've got someone joining us virtually.
That's
so,
right.
Looking forward to getting in touch with Noel here and talking about all of the things that the Republicans are facing. And right now, what we saw was a whirlwind. We saw a whirlwind over the weekend of, wait a minute, let's throw Marjorie Taylor Greene under the bus. Let's throw Thomas Massie, who, finds himself kind of needing to be thrown under the bus every once in a while.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. And then all
Sometimes.
of a sudden, right. And then all of a sudden, boom, here we go. We're gonna stick behind Lindsey Graham, who is a swamp creature. If you swamp creatures, right? You got Schumer, you got McConnell, you got Lindsey Graham. There's tons,
Yeah, there's a lot
that
more,
you would throw
but we
under
all
there,
know, yeah.
right? But I want to non-conservatives listen to what the three that I just named. Two of them were conservatives, Republicans, right? And so Lindsey Graham is only in the position that he's been in because he faced a tough primary a couple of years ago, and the only reason he's in this is because of the Kavanaugh hearings. Right? He went through this process and was like, tell him I said hello.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Right? Like it was a big moment for him, and honestly, it was a great moment for him.
But then he went on Sean Hannity every night and begged for his political life.
Bomb him.
Yeah.
Like he wanted to say, hey, give me money and bomb him.
Yeah.
That's Lindsey Graham's shtick.
Yeah.
Right. And he stood behind, Trump has stood behind this guy, and I don't understand it because Marjorie Taylor Greene has been one of his most loyal advocates. And I'm not saying that I agree with everything that MTG says, right? I don't agree with everything that she says.
Or anyone for that matter.
Of course.
I mean, we're
because
in this world where you always have to qualify. It's like
Right.
I'm over that. I'm over having to qualify things.
I'm over it too because we're not of the three of us. When I'm talking about you, myself, and Eric Haynes, who joins us in studio, we disagree on stuff. We have a group text going, and we disagree on some of the stuff. He cannot stand Marjorie Taylor Greene, and I just look at her. I was like, man, she's a true patriot. She's a conservative, and now there's been some stuff come out about her stock trading and all of that stuff. This is
and she was big buddies with Kevin McCarthy back when when everybody was like Kevin McCarthy's ruining everything, and she cozied up to him. So she like I said, when we say somebody needs to be thrown under the bus, all politicians kind of need to be thrown under the bus every once in a while. But
who did she endorse for Speaker of the House during that whole debacle? Do you remember who she threw up?
Yeah, I don't remember actually.
Donald J. Trump.
Oh, yeah, I remember
She
that.
wanted Donald J. Trump to be the Speaker of the House. Now we all understand that was a ceremonial position. It wasn't anything that he was going to ever do. But the bottom line is Marjorie Taylor Greene is a conservative. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater just because you disagree with him.
So we're going to turn now to a friend of mine, Noel Fritsch, who is actually the communications director for Mark Lynch for Senate. Mark Lynch is a very brave man.
Yeah.
Mark Lynch is challenging Lindsey Graham in the state of South Carolina.
Please.
And so we obviously hope Mark Lynch wins the whole thing. Noel, good to see you again, sir. How are you?
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me, Paul.
So, I mean, first of all, what do you think about this dichotomy? I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. I'm trying to make it make sense where you say, okay, I'm going to not endorse Marjorie Taylor Greene anymore. I'm going to actually attack her now. He's calling her Marjorie Trader Greene.
Oh, my gosh.
But we've still got this elephant in the room, you know. He still is endorsing Lindsey Graham and thinks Lindsey Graham's great, even though Lindsey Graham has a history of running for the hills when supporting Trump gets tough. I mean, he's not really a Trump supporter and never has been. He's just a political opportunist.
Yeah, Lindsey's way worse than just a political opportunist, Paul. The guy is, in essence, almost like an intelligence operative inside of the Congress. And so the interesting thing here about Lindsey Graham is that this guy basically is run by the very intelligence agencies whose job it is for him to oversee. So you've got all kinds of conflict of interests with Lindsey Graham going way back, and this becomes apparent when you really pay attention to his habits on television. He's always on Meet the Press. He's always on This Week with George Stephanopoulos or Snuffleupagus or whatever his name is.
Snuffleupagus, yes.
He's always on Fox News. By the way, Fox News took something in total something near $1 billion in cash from Chase and Citibank, and by the way, the Central Bank of China, to help them to pay off that $787 million fine that they had to pay to settle the Dominion lawsuit. And right in the mix of all of that was when Fox fired Tucker. Look, this is one of the main points that I try to tell folks, and I don't do a daily show, and maybe I should. We've really got to train our folks how to sort through all of the noise. And there's a buddy of mine who has a show, and all he says is signal, not noise, signal, not noise. But look, I submit to you, if you have to continuously tell people signal, not noise, then maybe you're the noise. So that's what we're dealing with Lindsey Graham. Back to the sort of intelligence community operation that we're looking at. These guys push out nonstop communications. That is what they do. That is their job. Okay. Now, everyone who's watching will understand basically nothing ever happens with any of that stuff. And so there's a tweet thread out with my boss, Mark Lynch, where he details in great detail a lot of this lying nonsense that we're seeing from guys like Lindsey. And over the last 2 weeks, one of the big lying talking points has been this thing, Arctic frost. And Lindsey and the members so upset that how dare the deep state record and surveil their communications. These guys know they're allowing it to happen like en masse, by the way, every day they go to their jobs in the Congress, because they're not shutting down the FISA program. They're not shutting down the NSA. They're not de-deputizing Verizon and AT&T and Sprint and everybody else as what is known as an intelligence element, which is basically a deputized member of the intelligence community, which is what these entities are. They literally just share information without the warrants, guys, without subpoenas. They are literally just pass-throughs with our government. So we're in a really dangerous spot. I think we're in this slow-moving constitutional crisis, actually, that we're looking at now for 5, 6, 7, 8 years at least. And a lot of that goes back to the Russia hoax collusion that we saw. You had members of our government here on U.S. soil helping to foment. So Hillary Clinton, Bill Kristol, all the good folks. I guess the Bulwark is out of business, or the Weekly Standard is out of business. I don't even know what Bill Kristol's doing these days. The Podhoretz clan, all of these people basically kicked off the Steele dossier, P-Gate investigation. They handed it over to Hillary Clinton in the middle of 16. She was supposed to try to punch it through the end zone. That didn't work. Trump won. And then they were like, oh, crap, now what do we do? So they papered the Russia hoax investigation in 16 and into 17 with the help of the Judiciary Committee and the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence. So over there was Richard Burr. Remember, Richard Burr took sort of an unceremonious exit. That was his cue to exit stage right after he papered the Russia hoax investigation. And the Russia hoax investigation, of course, was pushed mightily by Lindsey Graham. I would take some exception here with the idea that Lindsey's ever been challenged. He's never had any real money spent against him ever, Lindsey Graham. In 2014, he had Nancy Mace, who I don't want to get into Nancy right now, and Lee Bright. Lee Bright actually is a state senator. He just won his state Senate seat back. I think between them, they might have topped $1 million.
Yeah, no, I was thinking of in 2020. Maybe it's in 2020.
$0 were spent in $0 were spent in 2020, and a guy called. It's not even important what his name is. He had no money, and
I'm going off of. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there, but I was just saying I was kind of going off of like Lindsey Graham was going on television, to Paul's point earlier, every week talking about this money that was going after him. I never tracked how much actual money was going against him, but So a Democrat,
a Democrat came against him, but it's a Republican state. There's this idea that a Democrat was going to have a chance against Lindsey Graham in a Republican state that's 60-40 Republican. This is like, you know how they do art? They do like modern art with a banana on the wall with some duct tape, and then it's money laundering. It turns out it's all going to go to crack ladies with Hunter Biden or whatever. And that's what these campaigns are becoming. I fear when you have a Democrat who has $100 million. Really, where's that $100 million going? Like, what's really happening here, right? Mm-hmm. In South Carolina, right, of all places. And so, that's true. Okay, that's fair. There was if you poll everybody across the country who's the Democrat who ran against Lindsey Graham, probably nobody knows who it is, right?
No, I have no idea.
Well, that's true, but there's also that great Saturday Night Live skit where Tim Kaine walked out.
And no one could remember
his
name.
It was all these Democrats, and they're like, oh, you said recently, you tweeted it out, this was the most important election of our lifetime. And Tim Kaine walks out and says, hey, I was I was Hillary Clinton's running mate. And at that time, you tweeted, this is the most important election of our lifetime. What's my name?
Yeah.
And none of them knew.
Yeah.
None of them, right? And that's a nationwide problem.
So, Noel, this is quite the thread here that you've put that Mark Lynch has put together. You sent the thread to me because I hadn't seen it. And it kind of goes down the line of Lindsey Graham openly covering for people like Robert Mueller. I want to play some of these things and kind of go through this thread.
Hold on. Guard your ears on this trash.
I know, right?
I supported the Mueller investigation because I didn't know. Senator, we're talking about a shredding of constitutional law due process that we would ever have.
You say that Mueller is a good guy, right?
That's been my experience, yes.
And you'll do anything necessary to protect him from being interfered with?
Absolutely.
Well, and it's all Bennett. Where's Director Ray, though? I've got a lot of people yelling at me tonight. He's not doing his job.
And you'll do anything necessary to protect him?
Absolutely.
Somebody that every American should trust. Mr. Mueller.
Bob Mueller was an excellent appointment. He will go wherever the facts lead him. He will have great credibility.
People want you to move on this, Senator. Are you going to do it?
Yeah, but I've told you, and I'll tell you again. Total phonies who tell you they're representing you, but don't. Explain why they didn't really do anything to stop the derailment of America while it was in progress.
Yeah, what are the three people hammering him the hardest there? Sean Hannity, Tucker Carlson, and Maria Bartiromo. Like, has anybody ever accused them of not being America first? Now, somebody might say some stuff about you might say some stuff about that or whatever, but they're hammering him, rightfully so.
Yeah.
The dude is a complete shill for the deep state, in my opinion, and has been for a long time.
Yeah, I think I agree. When Noel was talking earlier, essentially, Lindsey Graham doesn't represent South Carolina. He represents the intel oligarchy.
Sure.
That's who he actually represents in the Senate.
Yeah.
And, you go through there, you look at this, and a lot of people have a short memory. But, this is the guy who was, trying to legitimize Mueller. And I'll say about Mueller, when he finally had his big day in the Senate there, oh, look at that. What does that say? Dump Lindsey. That's right. when he had his big day in the Senate there, Noel, he looked like he was a dementia patient then, and now we've got the House oversight that if they've tried to subpoena Mueller, just to remind everybody, and he can't come because he's now in an assisted living facility. So, I mean, Mueller was very much the foreshadowing of Joe Biden, the puppet, somebody with a dementia being led around by the nose. So, I mean, you got to think, is South Carolina going to be done with this guy?
So, look, I got to go back to all the Hannity and Bartiromo. Like, methinks thou doth protest too much. They made a lot of noise, but they never really followed up. And I hate to say this, and I like Maria and I like Tucker. And Tucker, actually, to his credit, has been kind of the only one who's still on that beat of kind of still beating on Lindsey Graham. The other guys have sort of let it go. That interview with Bartiromo was in 2020. It was a long time ago. And so, look, the guy is obviously way out of touch. You saw in that thread, there's way more evidence. He's on.
Well, we're losing you now. Hang on a second. We got a bad connection. I think we're losing you for a little bit. Can you hear us okay?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're back. So
okay. Lindsey's on Meet the Press. He's on this week with Snuffleupagus. He's protecting Comey, openly protecting Comey. He's not only openly protecting Comey, he's literally carrying the talking points, Paul. There's some short clips in there where he openly says, yeah, like, we've got to get to the bottom of this. We got to get to the bottom of this. Donald Trump's. We've got, and he's openly. This is in like May of 2019, and even into 2020. Life comes at you fast. Pretty soon thereafter, they figure out. It took like 3 or 4 years for sort of the internet to sort of collectively beat down on the Russia hoax investigation. I will give Hannity some credit for that. He did successfully beat down on the Russia hoax investigation, but again, nothing ever came of it, and he almost kind of kept the story alive going into 2020, the 2020 election. That thing there should have been people tried during 17, 18, and 19, while Trump had, by the way, the DOJ. Okay?
Yeah, I agree with that for sure. But you're talking about the limitations of what a Fox News host, you won't even say that. Do.
Hey, why?
But we see what Tucker's doing when he's unleashed. And I think if Maria or Sean is unleashed, we're seeing a different side of them. But your point is well taken.
They've got to commit to the talking points. And the talking points that matter are, look, these criminals who are this Epstein influence operation and being run by the Central Intel, okay, they are walking into the Congress, not doing their job at all, which is to take care of basically, national security and make sure that our economy doesn't get totally run roughshod over, and they're failing entirely at their job, and people can't afford to live. There's crimes of there's deaths of despair. There's all kinds of crimes way up because people can't afford to live. I mean, you have the what should be the shining beacon on the hill in all of Western civilization, in all of human recorded history, wheels falling off, and these guys are whining about, hey, I need some recompense because the guys that I'm working with behind the scenes, we're going to go do some, fake pro wrestling on TV and pretend that really we're enemies. That's what's going on here. So when you try to explain what the heck's going on with Trump being run by Bushies, by the way, by Susie Wiles, it's now open secret here. Susie, National File is a project of mine. Susie Wiles is a Bushie. She's running Trump. It's very obvious that they're on a mission now to basically destroy MAGA. That's an they're the bad
these
guys.
These are some strong statements here.
Yeah. This will all come back to me in a year or two, because back in those guys will try to ignore us for about 2 years, and then when we lose in the midterms, they'll finally come around our way. Maybe. This is kind of how it works. But yeah, no. The project of destroying populism is the project. Okay?
Yes, I would agree with that. That's what J6 was all about, was destroying populism forever.
Yeah, that's the project. And so now look, I mean, everybody who's paying attention knows we never got to the bottom of Thomas Crooks. Everybody who's paying attention knows that there's deep shenanigans going on. That Charlie Kirk thing was a message to the guy that was the target of the Thomas Crooks effort, right? Attempt. And
unpack that. Unpack that.
Sure. So we never heard anything after the Thomas Crooks thing at all. It all
nobody knows who the hell he is.
Thomas Crooks is the guy who took the shot at President Trump.
No, I'm not trying to say that. I'm trying to say in the aftermath, who is this guy? We're not picking every part of his life apart as we are with some of these other individuals.
That's right. And so until this week, by the way, because Tucker went after Thomas Crooks, and then all of a sudden, lazy-eyed Mr. Indian Patel guy, Cash App Patel, decided he wanted to do a tweet. We've done lots of things like after the fact.
Well, can I interrupt you for a second, because I just want to while we're broaching the subject of Thomas Crooks, what Tucker Carlson did, he dropped this piece on a Thursday. You see it on your screen right there. It was incredibly informative. I learned more about Thomas Crooks than I have the entire time.
I've not seen this.
It's 34 minutes. There's amazing questions asked. The FBI had said that he didn't really have any social media presence, and Tucker Carlson has an immense amount of social media presence.
Yeah, how many phones did this dude have?
Yeah, and the burner phones, he covers that. They cremated the body, all of that and more.
Okay.
It's an incredible piece. But the point is, this was egg all over Kash Patel and the FBI's face, because he's been in the job for 10 months.
Did they cover his trips to the FBI? I didn't see the whole thing.
No, they haven't covered any of that. Not yet. Yeah. No, but
or the video that he was in with BlackRock.
They don't cover that. They do have video of him, dry firing a pistol. But my point is this story breaks on a Thursday. There's egg all over the FBI's face. Kash Patel then comes out, makes a tweet, which essentially says nothing. You don't really learn anything new. It was trying to deflect. And then today, right on cue, we haven't heard a thing from this FBI about Thomas Crooks and the Butler assassination. And then right on cue, after Tucker Carlson basically eggs the FBI, we have this story from Miranda Devine, who all of a sudden now has more information about Thomas Crooks, and that he allegedly had they/them pronouns on one of his social media accounts and was obsessed with furries, just like, So, but all I'm saying is that very well may be true. But what a coincidence that we haven't heard a thing until Tucker Carlson's reporting, and now Miranda Devine all of a sudden is essentially breaking a story from a completely another angle, a completely different angle, which is, look over here, the guy was a furry. Instead of why haven't we had more information? Why was there a cover-up? The Secret Service didn't secure the roof because it was sloped. I mean, we remember all the Biden FBI talking points. Why hasn't anyone been held accountable for that? And that's the real egg on his face. So I'll shut up and listen.
That's right. So look, the broader picture here is trying to see through all of this noise and figure out how these bad actors actually operate, right? The other guy who was from actually North Carolina, where I'm from, and he was from Winston-Salem, I think, and he was like helping people go to Ukraine. He's the other assassin that got picked up near
Ryan Ralph.
Golf course.
You
got it. And so this guy's first tweets ever were and his first follow ever was his basically Chi-Com deep state Stanford intel community handler. Very much in the same way, like Jack Posobiec, I guess, kind of sometimes nice to us, but we'll see. His first tweets were from Langley. Like literally, when Twitter had your lat launch, he forgot to turn off the lat launch. Maybe you couldn't, and he tweets from Langley. He forgot to drive back into Maryland somewhere, so he tweets from Langley. So, guys, it's really important that if we're going to kind of explain to folks how this stuff works, you got to go back and look at what they're actually doing. How much remedy are they discussing versus how much I'm gonna one day are they discussing? That's it. Like right now, Congress could convene and start to impeach and defund the judiciary and impeach Article 3 federal judges. That could happen tomorrow, right? They're on the defense, by the way, because Trump came out last night and says, well, maybe we should release those Epstein things. I liken Trump to basically a guy in jail who's rattling the cages. He always does this on every debate. He goes to one side of the jail cell and he's this jail of his own making, and he rattles the cage over here, and then he runs to the other side of the jail cell and he rattles the jail cell over there. And it's like everybody's looking this way and that way, and meanwhile life goes on, and then on to the next thing, whatever it's going to be. There will be something, trust me. I don't know if it'll be like Vegas, but there will be something.
Go ahead. I cut you off.
Yeah. So you have to understand, every time you turn on the news, Fox News, especially Fox News, you're listening to carefully
Filtered,
curated artifice.
Yep.
It is carefully curated artifice, and it is intended entirely to take you away from accountability for guys like Paul Ryan, Paul Singer, the people who own and run the Republican Party, okay, which is basically some kind of combination of Silicon Valley, China, and this other country, which we're not allowed to mention. And so, lest we get anybody here banned or whatever. So that's essentially what's going on. I mean, Paul Singer and everybody with the Charlie Kirk debate raging on now into month 2 now, or 3. We're into the 3rd month of the debate now. What happened there? Well, I mean, there were 12 cell phones that were from another country there. There's an Egyptian plane flying around. So you have to look at everything that you hear from these jokers with a very suspicious eye. Okay, so when you start hearing about, the new big thing, boom, breaking news, Fox News, the bell, and like breaking and Arctic frost, oh my gosh, like that's bogus, right? And then Lindsey Graham's on TV every day for 2 weeks talking about, I can't believe that they were spying on us. It's like, look, these people are all at work together. Like, this isn't news. This is theater. It's script.
Well, okay. I mean, the Republican senators that are all upset about being spied on when it comes to Arctic frost.
What'd they do?
Yeah, I mean, I think we know, via Ed Martin and some Alex Jones reporting that Jack Smith was planning, these maxi trials and everything else, and I think that really should elevate what the stakes actually are. But you have these Republican GOP, these Republican senators that are now outraged that they were targeted.
Yep.
And yet, what about the grandma, who was arrested for just showing up to the Capitol on January 6th? There's a huge disconnect here.
Yeah. Or we could go down that rabbit hole and talk about how the FBI, just the overreach of the FBI in general during the Biden administration, like where's the outrage with that? Did those people, like the preacher who was silently praying outside of an abortion clinic, and he had the FBI raid his house. The new continuing resolution, I'm going to put those in quotes here, did that give $500,000 to him?
That's exactly right. You're talking about the Republicans are now wanting to get $500,000 from the taxpayer for every illegal subpoena Jack Smith put on them.
And I'm pretty damn sure Lindsey Graham's going to get that $500,000.
Yes.
Every single human whose data has been leaked by the government to or one of the agencies, illegally, which is all of them, rates that $500,000. So why don't they just go ahead and stroke that $500K check to every single American who's had their data?
Every one of us. Yeah, every one of us, because we know that our algorithm knows exactly what we're doing. As a matter of fact, our algorithm, our phones, if it's near all 3 of us are listening to us right now.
Exactly.
Right? And so somebody wants to say, well, the government's listening. Keep your voice down.
It's really funny.
Like the government is listening.
Last night on the way home from church, just a quick story about that because it really was chilling. I mean, we already know this is the case. I was giving my daughter a lecture about something that had happened at church, with one of her friends, and I was trying to be constructive but also stern. And the whole time, my wife accidentally had the voice to text turned on, and so she was texting literally everything I said. It didn't get sent, but we had a kick going back and rereading everything I had just said. And I thought, this is happening literally all the time. Sure. Everything we're speaking is being perfectly put into an NSA database somewhere in Utah.
A good friend of mine, she was watching television. Her and her husband sitting on the couch watching television, never heard anything. Never said or did anything. The TV, there's a dog barking loudly on the television. They don't address it. They don't say a single solitary word. A few hours later, she's on Facebook and it said, "Do you have an annoying dog that won't stop barking? Here you go. Here's this thing to keep them from barking." And it's just like, okay, wait a minute. So you mean to tell me that they can sell me this collar to put on my dog to keep him from barking, but yet they won't listen to all of the conversations that I'm having with whoever
all the time
to determine if there's a threat,
Yeah.
which somebody would say, oh, well, that's great. If you can stifle this threat. No, We're talking about privacy. This is the United States of America. And Lindsey Graham, guess what? People are going to try to bug your phones. People are going to try to figure out what's going on with you. That is what you sign up for as a United States Senator. Should protocols be put in place? Absolutely. Put these protocols in place to keep it from try to keep it from happening in the future. But that doesn't mean that it didn't happen.
He's in charge of making it happen.
Right.
He's
and you're not entitled to $500,000.
Yeah.
So he's in charge of making it happen. That's why it's so ridiculous. Look, everybody, I'm not from South Carolina. I'm about a half an hour north of the border. I love it. I'm actually at the point in life where I'm like, you know what? I think that's where we're headed. Who knows? They've ruined Virginia, which is where my mom's folks are all from. We came to North Carolina.
It's lost.
I think every American across this land needs to make it a point to do what they can to try to get rid of Lindsey Graham. Think about how egregious this is. Literally the people that are in charge of pushing the Russia hoax investigation with Comey and with Rosenstein and with McCabe and all of these guys and Strzok, and taking all of the Steele dossier bad info and pushing it on the president for years they're the victims all of a sudden. And, oh, by the way, they don't actually have to get anything done while they have, the House majority with Republicans, and the Republicans have the Senate majority, and the Republicans have the White House. They don't have to get anything done in terms of, actual governance. They're just on TV whining about what victims they are.
Sure.
Think about how absurd this is. If that's not enough to get folks engaged to dump Lindsey, I don't know what is. Without getting into his personal life.
And what we see, Noel, is so many people are frustrated because – Marjorie Taylor Greene broke with the president, right? She was one of his most staunch supporters, right? And how dare her want the names of the people on the Epstein flight logs and all of it? So how dare her want those people released? And you can say that she's got some ulterior motives here, but can I sympathize with her overall goal? As a parent, absolutely. If children, and I want to say children because if you're under the age of 17, no matter what Megyn is trying to say here, Megyn Kelly, who was trying to sort of justify how we may not consider Jeffrey Epstein a pedophile. Okay, are you of the legal age of consent? Right? And if you are not of the legal age of consent, you want to talk about things on the frontier days and how people were getting married and all of that stuff, and the Virgin Mary was only 13 years old. You can say all of that stuff, but this is the society that we live in right now.
Got to draw a line somewhere.
We've got to draw a line somewhere. And somebody would say, it's about this age, and it's about that age, and it's about this age. But Ghislaine Maxwell was flying in French 14-year-old girls under the guise of a modeling contract to have sex with these paying people. We all believed that, and at least they were having sex with Jeffrey Epstein. If there's over, 2,000 or maybe it's 200, maybe I'm adding an extra zero, potential victims who were trafficked to that island and all of that stuff, if there are that many people, it wasn't just Jeffrey Epstein. As a man, it doesn't always work that much, okay? So let's not sit here and live in this fantasy world that it was just for Jeffrey Epstein, because why else do these people not want that list released? And Marjorie Taylor Greene is sick of it. She wants this list released. And so she has broken with Trump. And guess what? The negative PR has happened. To Noel's point, it's all about what people think about it. And the negative PR has been so bad that Trump reverses course and has decided, yeah, you know what? Let's go ahead and release that. Let's go ahead and release that list. I'm sick of it. It's phony. It's all BS. And I'm going to tell you, the biggest swamp rat that I see in that Senate, other than Mitch McConnell, who can go out to pasture, is Lindsey Graham. I'm over Lindsey Graham. Get the hell out of the Senate. So I'll back anybody who's trying to get rid of that swamp rat.
You've got this tweet here, Mark Lynch, who is
Sorry,
that's fine.
I just got fired up here, man.
That's Rob's rant of the day. Mark Lynch tweeting out this: Lindsey was the #1 Republican cheerleader for a congressional investigation into Trump.
Yeah.
He told ABC News Congress needed to look into his business ties to Russia. If there's contacts between Trump and Russia, that's big league bad. That's a game changer. Again, keep in mind when you listen to this clip, this is Lindsey Graham not representing the citizens of South Carolina. This is Lindsey Graham representing the intel oligarchy to ABC News.
There's contacts between the Trump campaign and Russian intelligence officials outside the norm. That's not only big league bad, that's a game changer, and I would change my view as to what Congress should do. We need a joint select committee in Congress to get to the bottom of it and also look at Trump's business ties to Russia.
The New York Times report is based on intercepted communications. They quote four intelligence officials. So you're prepared to go forward and call for that joint committee?
I want to do a preliminary investigation where members of Congress, myself and Senator Whitehouse are overseeing the FBI's role in this. I want to make sure myself that these intercepts exist, that the communications are outside the norm. If that's the case, it's time for the Congress, in my view, the Senate, to do a joint select committee where we can look at it holistically, not in a compartmentalized way, to get to the bottom of it, because it is very, very disturbing to me, and Russia needs to pay a price when it comes to interfering in our democracy and other democracies, and any Trump person who was working with...
And now that we know that Obama created the fake intel report at the beginning, from the whole, we know it was all a fake intel report, everything else, we not only framed Donald Trump for treason, we framed the government of Russia, nuclear-powered Russia, we framed them for essentially an act of war against our country. And now we have, and again, make it make sense after all that, because we can go further. We can go to, let's see here. This is another one. MTG stood by Trump after January 6th. What did Lindsey Graham do?
Trump and I, we've had a hell of a journey. I hate it being this way. Oh, my God, I hate it. From my point of view, he's been a consequential president. But today, first thing you'll see, all I can say is count me out. Enough is enough.
So that's Lindsey Graham. Count me out. Enough is enough. Throwing him under the bus. Let's not also forget Lindsey Graham's true feelings about J6ers.
Yeah, my question is about January 6th.
It wasn't peaceful. I was there. If it had been up to me, I would have shot some of these people in the head. Let me tell you why. They took over your capital. I don't care what the cause was. They destroyed the place.
So this is, what's an interesting consistent thread with all of this is that these are all fake, made up, intel ops, psychological operations, whether it's Russia. January 6th was clearly a psychological operation to squash populism. Lindsey Graham in those previous clips couldn't wait to get Trump out of there to put Mike Pence in office. No, why is Trump, what is, in your opinion, why is Trump continuing to endorse Lindsey Graham, even though there's viable candidates like Mark Lynch out there that have put his own money behind his run?
I can tell you a little bit behind the scenes. I don't know if you guys have ever tried to move $5 million before. I had never done that until this election. Mark Lynch moved $5 million into his campaign account. It took 3 weeks. They throw up every rebuttal, every roadblock, every speed bump that they can, including banana peels. And they just they do not want you to take $5 million out of their bank. I learned is. In this case, the bank was First Citizens Bank. And the day, you can go to the Truth Post came out was March the 26th. I think it was a Wednesday of 2025. Literally the day after this 3 weeks of wrangling or whatever, and it happened at noon. About 8 hours later is when somebody told Lindsey that this happened. I'm assuming there's no way that this happened coincidentally. And Lindsey runs to Donald Trump, and that afternoon he has his Truth Social Post endorsement.
So that was hang on. That was after the news broke that Mark Lynch was donating.
We didn't break the news. Nobody knew it. Nobody knew it.
Nobody knew it, except for
Nobody
internal campaign people that knew he was giving himself $5 million.
In the bank.
Somebody knew it due to the he's talking about the hurdles that they had to go through.
Wow.
Somebody knew it and was watching.
The bank knew it. I mean, obviously, right? So somebody tipped him off, and and he's been trying to raise money. He's raising a couple million every quarter, $1.5 million, $2 million every quarter. He already had 15 mil. Look, we were worried about this for a long time with Donald Trump. Unfortunately, we knew that there might be problems with, especially if he brought in state actors around him that he has brought in. There's Palantir folks all tied in to the admin, folks at the FDA. There's some very bad actors tied to Big Pharma. His chief of staff is extremely tied to. She didn't even register as an agent for FARA. She was a lobbyist for China. Literally, the chief of staff in the White House was a lobbyist for China, guys. Her name's Susie Wiles. She also worked directly for Israel. And this goes back to the Silicon Valley comment that I made earlier, that I'm sure people hear some of the things that I say, and they're like, what is he talking about? I'm talking about facts. That's what I'm talking about. Jeffrey Miller is a big-time lobbyist that works very closely with Kevin McCarthy and the geopolitical nation state in the Levant. And they want to control the presidency. And so what we're looking at is this now like an 8-year, 9-year rolling coup, right? That's what we're looking at. We just got to look at it with clear eyes. And it's not over. And if they couldn't beat them, then they had to basically infiltrate. Right? It would have been really bizarre, like if Kamala Harris had come in the last minute and beat Trump, right? Nobody would have believed that. So you got to understand the bad guys have problems too. One of the problems they have is people's willingness to suspend their disbelief. If you're gonna watch a movie, you got to suspend disbelief a little bit. And so people are watching a movie, and so they have to have people willing to suspend disbelief. So if they couldn't literally just outright remove Donald Trump, and they tried to kill him, actually, remember. Then what's the next best thing? Basically infiltrate him. And then send him a little kind reminder every now and again about that one thing, that bullet that he almost took in the ear. They have not rescinded the offer for a bullet in the ear, have they? No. If I'm Donald Trump, I kind of get it. I actually feel a little bit badly for the guy, because he's got people around the world who want to put a bullet in his ear, right? At some point, you got to say to yourself, put on my big boy pants. I asked for this job, and I owe it to the people of the country that I said that I wanted to lead, to do the best for them, and take whatever actions that you need to do for precautions and safety to get it done. And so he's not. He's subcontracting out all the political to La Savita and to Susie and Susie's little hireling called James Blair. Okay, he's not even worried about it. And Lindsey's coming around for photo ops. They just had a big kickoff fundraiser the other day. They can't do fundraisers in the state of South Carolina. Lindsey knows it. Trump knows it. If they come there, they're going to get the snot boot out of them. Okay.
Where are these voters then? I mean, if he's so unpopular, which I believe that he is, I agree with you, but
he's never been challenged.
The election happens in the primary. That's my point. The election happens in the primary. It doesn't happen in November. So the election for the Senate in South Carolina is in the primary, which is in June, this coming up 2026. And so he's never been challenged in a primary. It just has never happened. And so this is the year to do it. And they're there. We've got polling from Rasmussen that says that 50, and we actually sampled heavily Democrats just kind of to try to get a clear-eyed look at this. The Rasmussen poll by Pulse Opinion Research says that 57% of people who will vote in a Republican Party primary, which includes some Democrats, actually a lot of Democrats, will not vote for Lindsey Graham. And so if folks know that Mark Lynch is the America First candidate, it's 37 to 36. Lindsey has a 1-point advantage with something like 25-ish or so undecided. And so, of course, we're going to win those undecideds.
Well, can you tell us? I mean, if a listener or viewer has never heard of Mark Lynch, give us the elevator speech for him.
Sure. Number one, he is a man of faith. That's number one. He's a very successful businessman. He has a wife. He's been married for 37 years to the same woman. Lindsey Graham does not have anything like
That's
that.
a big deal. A lot of people in D.C. can't say that.
No. And Lindsey Graham, has he ever been married? I don't
No.
think he's ever been married.
No.
Anyway.
And so, but he's a very successful businessman. He's he's run this business that he's owned since the early to mid 80s.
What's the nature of the business?
It's funny. He's very humble and sincere. So he says it's like furniture and appliances. I would say that it's almost like an extremely high-end lifestyle store, if that makes sense.
Okay.
It's like everything you want for your home. High-end kitchens, high-end furniture, and they do very big business in the upstate of South Carolina, in Greenville and Spartanburg County and surrounding counties.
Okay.
And just those two counties have 1 million people. So he's the biggest ad buyer up in the upstate of South Carolina. So people know who he is. And he's gotten very politically active on really the issue of Islam and national security over about the last decade. And so that's what got him into politics. And he's been operating at the state level. Look, the bad guys in the Team Soros. Oh, by the way, Soros guys donate to Lindsey. They have their eyes set on South Carolina. There's no question about it. And so they're taking all of the necessary steps to eventually one day try to take over a place like South Carolina. So it's really important that we.
Yeah, what are they trying to do there with Soros? Are they, if it's a 60-40 state,
they're gonna really goose up the populations in your kind of urban areas, turn those big urban areas into huge exurban areas. They're manipulating population heavily into South Carolina, around a lot of different industries, tech, healthcare, and education. A lot of times these people end up just being sort of like Democrat light voters. As much as we want to say that everybody coming here from California is a Republican, I'm not betting on that.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Most people don't want to change their ways. Most people don't want to admit they're wrong, right? They'll hang on to their progressive, communist ideology and take it right into red states. I mean, that's
now there are some big time activists who are new, like to the state, who are and very active. There are some of those people, but I mean, for example, Horry County. I mean, you're talking about a place that I think has more of a feel because it's the beach, right? Myrtle Beach has more of a feel like L.A. County. People move to the beach for a reason. It's because they don't give a f, and they're doing the Jimmy Buffett and flip flops and pop tops, and they're kicking their feet back. That's it. And God love them. I'm glad they have a nice retirement. But the population, the voting population for the Republican primary in Myrtle Beach has doubled over the last 10 years. Now, a lot of those people are not Lindsey Graham people, so it could go. I feel very good about a lot of those voters coming our way.
So I want to talk. I want to get your thoughts on a couple of things. The first is this. I mean, we had this mixed messaging from Trump. Well, in terms of last week, we had the H-1B visa comment about not enough talent. We covered that and how disappointing that was. Then we had this, reporting out of the New York Times. Who knows if it was true, pressuring Marjorie Taylor Greene or Lauren Boebert or whoever, don't sign. Thomas
like that's why they were called to the White House.
And then you have Trump saying, "Hey, look, I'm going to throw Marjorie Taylor Greene under the bus." But then he says, "Okay, now go ahead and vote for the Epstein files." And then he comes out on the tarmac and he gets asked to condemn Tucker Carlson. And he doesn't condemn Tucker Carlson. He says, look, Tucker should interview whoever he wants regarding Nick Fuentes, which I thought was fantastic. Thank you. This is America. Yeah. So, and it's like as somebody who voted for Trump, you're always it seems like you're always grasping at straws, trying to find something good to hold on to. But does Donald Trump not know that if he has any sort of hope for a legacy, Noel, if he doesn't bring if he doesn't put these people in jail that have done this color revolution, if he doesn't start producing results here domestically, he's going to lose the House. And if he loses the House, he's going to be impeached. And everything he's done is over. I mean, does he know that or no? What are your thoughts?
I think he knows it. I can see him leaving before the term's over and trolling everybody and moving to like Bariloche in like Argentina just to troll everybody and going into exile.
That would be the craziest thing I ever.
I think anything can happen. We're going to lose the House. They're going to impeach him. The Senate, who knows what the Senate's going to do? I think we could easily lose a seat or two. That's kind of my point. If for your folks who are doing standard politics, well, we need to save money so we can spend it so we can win the House and the Senate. Okay. Is that even possible, first of all? And so if we're going to have like a bad Senate, why don't we at least go get ourselves like a rock star in South Carolina? Like,
well, we had
like, come on.
Yeah, we had Congressman Rick Crawford in studio with us and off air.
Chair of HPSI, Noel, the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence.
So we had him in studio with us. This has been maybe several months ago at this point. But anyway, I asked him off the record. I mean, I guess off the record is in quotes here, but basically, like, what are your thoughts on next year's race in the House? Do you feel like, hey, you're going to lose it? And he talked about the redistricting and felt like that the conservatives had done, what they were supposed to do basically to help, and counteract with some of that stuff. But then I felt like there was maybe a little bit too much optimism, and maybe that was just me reading, Congressman Crawford, and maybe he's going to be careful about what he says about it or whatever. I just like. Do you not feel like, considering historically that the party in power loses seats? Well, you only got a 3 or 4 seat advantage in the House. Do you feel like that's going to happen? And and again, I don't want to speak for Congressman Crawford because I don't know exactly and what it is, and maybe he knows something I don't know. I don't know, but I can tell you this: if the Republicans do not go all in on keeping the House. Now, we don't want to lose the Senate, but if they don't go all in on keeping the House, the last 2 years of his presidency are as lame duck as any last 2 years of any presidency.
And none of his executive orders get codified. And USMCA was passed under Nancy Pelosi. She did it begrudgingly, but she passed it. And that's because she didn't really have a choice. I mean, that was just a hands down the way better trade deal than NAFTA was. So, but none of that happens under Jeffries. We are so polarized, and we were polarized in his first presidency, but he was still in with the swamp. We understand that. He was still in with the swamp. There is a belief there that Trump has gone so far off the rails, in my opinion, based off of everything that I'm reading, that it will be a complete stalemate. 0 initiatives in his last 2 years. And what is that going to do for the country? Honestly,
That's what happened in the first term. I mean, the first term.
Well, and Noel, I mean, what it means, I just think, 20 steps ahead, or I try to. It means, well, it's what Steve Bannon said the other day. If you lose the midterms, there's people in this room, including myself, that are going to jail. I mean, we know that the Democrats are already right now planning on prosecuting. They're going to do to what they did to J6ers. They're going to do it to everybody who is significant on the right. That's what they're doing. And yet we have these guys dead to rights. We have, we have the stories. I know there's probably a lot more there. We know these people are traitors. We know the people in the intel oligarchy are traitors. And, you've got Pam Bondi who, okay, great. We've got Comey. There's going to be some judge who's probably going to dismiss the case.
Yeah.
So I mean, the
bottom line is you've got to see some roll call votes. So the mechanism, how does the machine work, right? When he says people are going to jail, why is that? Well, the reason is because the Congress is not going to stop the DOJ from, and there's bad actors at DOJ from just going roughshod, out in why. Is Pam Bondi going to stop SDNY from going roughshod? I doubt it. DeSantis didn't even stop the DOJ from coming into Florida and arresting a whole ton of people. That's what we're talking about here. So Congress, this is why Congress matters. Like, Congress is our most direct route to governance. That's why it matters. And so this is why they brought up this whole filibuster thing, and Trump actually got on the right side of it. The filibuster's bad news. I'm here to tell all of the regular people who watch Fox that here's all you need to know about the filibuster. What does Fox News do to try to save and protect the filibuster? They bring out the lesbian senator from Arizona, Kirsten Sinema, and they bring out Manchin, and they bring out, there's another Democrat, Tulsi, I guess. Now she says she's MAGA, but whatever. I guess she is. But they bring out, Fox News trots out Democrat senators and says, thank God for these Democrats. That's, no. Not thank God for the Democrats. This is the same thing. It's the same pattern, kind of inverted, of Lindsey Graham acting like he really cares about, getting Kavanaugh through the hearing. It's all bluster. He has to do that. That's like his literal only job is to confirm a Supreme Court pick. By the way, he confirmed every other far left Democrat Supreme Court judge.
Well, he did.
Except for
that's in his rant.
Save
he bragged
Ketanji.
about it. Yeah.
Save Ketanji. So it's like, I don't care what you did about Kavanaugh, dude. You gave us Kagan, Sotomayor, and by the way, the Amy Coney gal ain't working out so hot. Come on. What are we talking about here? When are we going to get real? The question is, when are we going to get real? And we got to get real on the votes. We got to get real on the votes. Are there going to be votes to impeach bad judges? Are there going to be votes to defund? By the way, the FBI doesn't even have a charter. The CIA at least has a charter. It's very short. It's like 1954 or something. FBI doesn't even have a congressional charter. We should look at the FBI the same way we look at the Department of Education. It's duplicative.
Why do they exist?
We have a state FBI in every state. It should be anathema to every Republican that even something like the FBI exists. And now, but you know why CBS News, CBS TV exists, because every night they have boomers watching CSI and FBI and
Freeze!
And they're just like,
right.
Yeah, the FBI is now just a secret police force.
Yeah,
they exist to cover up crimes. I mean, we still know nothing about the Las Vegas shooting. Mm-hmm. We still know nothing about the Tesla car, the bomb the car bomb that exploded, in
front of Trump.
Right, in front of Trump. We know nothing about that.
Las Vegas.
Okay, memory hold. Crooks, memory hold. Ryan Ralph, memory hold. I mean, it took Tucker Carlson to get the FBI to even mention anything about Thomas Crooks. So many of these things happen, and so the FBI right now, and this is in Cash's, the ball's in Cash's court if he wants to do something about it to restore the credibility. But right now, the FBI, you can say, and it's a reasonable position, they exist to cover up crimes, not solve them. Period.
Yeah. You've got state police, you got your county police, and then you've got your local municipal police, whatever city that is. These three agencies, so right there, you've got your local, we are in Jonesboro, Arkansas currently, so we've got Jonesboro Police Department. And then we've got Craighead County, which is the county that we're in. And then the state of Arkansas, because we're in the state of Arkansas.
Yeah, Arkansas State Troopers, which are famous for pit maneuvers, by the way.
Correct, yes. We're worldwide famous for that. But you got three agencies that all have investigative wings. I know that the local and the county do. I'm assuming that the state police has like a criminal investigative division. But
you guys have to have a state bureau of investigation of some level.
I think it's like, I think it's the Arkansas. I think everything's Arkansas State Police. So they're like the thing.
To my point is, why do you need
an FBI,
a national that answers to some sort of national wing? Why do you need it? Mm-hmm. The state has it. The state covers it. All of these individuals who are talented within the FBI should go apply for, these state agencies. Why do you have this national FBI?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, what we're finding is because we want to keep our controlling arm over the American citizens.
Yeah. Noel, we're about out of time, my friend. I want to give you the last word, though. Communications director for Mark Lynch, and where can people go to support him if they want to?
It's lynch4senate.com and at Mark Lynch SC on the Twitter and the Facebook and everywhere else. And go donate, chip in, get a hat, guys. I can maybe if you want one, we can get you some hats. We got to get rid. We got to dump Lindsey, right? No, Lindsey is a bad mistress. That's what I would say.
Who keeps coming around and slashing our tires when we're at work.
Mistress is actually a quite appropriate name for him. I feel like
she's going to kill the rabbit, out there in the backyard
Lady
or whatever
G.
that is.
Lady G.
Bye, Lady G.
Oh, man.
Oh, no, it's been a pleasure to have you on, man.
Yeah.
I look forward to having you in the future.
Yeah, we got to do it again soon, my friend. And I definitely want one of those hats. I'll wear it. I'll wear it.
We got one. We got a camo one. I might have one. I'll send you a picture.
Oh, we need camo here in Arkansas. Send it.
Let's do it. Appreciate it, my friend. Be safe.
Thanks, guys.
All right, folks. That's all the time that we have for this edition of the show. Rob, this is a programming note. As we have 10 seconds. What are the plans for tomorrow?
I'm going to be on here. I'm going to be in your seat tomorrow. You're going to try to do it? I'm going to be in your seat tomorrow.
Okay. Rob's going to try to do it. I'm going to be out tomorrow. Rob's going to take a stab at that, so we're going to work out those details here in just a minute.
How it goes.
I've got to go to the dentist. So anyway, that's all the time that we have for this edition. Thanks so much. Make sure you like this, is subscribed wherever you're watching, and shout out to our sponsors: Red Vive Health, New Horizon Real Estate, Gateway Sight and Sound, T-Guard Bail Bonds, and Sherrod Chiropractic. We can't do the show without them. God bless.